Hey folks, Randy here doing Cut and Trim. I had my first interaction with a crazy neighbor. And I wanted to tell you guys about it, tell you how I handled it, because in my opinion, a lot of times these interactions people have with crazy neighbors when they're out mowing a lawn, a lot of times the lawn guy is not doing anything to help the situation and actually making things worse when they don't have to be. You know, the extent of the back and forth really is in your hands, because the only way to have a back and forth is for two people to interact. And if you stop interacting, the interaction stops. I wanted to talk about what happened here and how I handled it. And anyway, so I service a bunch of customers in this townhouse community, and I've got a line of 4 townhouses where I mow 3 of them. For some of you guys I know that live in, I guess, more wide open areas, a townhouse is basically a large building that's divided up into homes called townhomes. So you'll have like a big rectangle building, and usually there'll be some kind of delineation, like they'll just stick in like the fronts of the houses, but they're all connected, they share walls, and it'll be individual homes. It's kind of like almost like apartments, but like 3-story apartments that have, you know, entry on the ground floor. Anyway, you look it up if you're really curious. But anyway, so I service 3 of these 4 townhouses that are back to back. And I would have had the 4th, but she said I was too expensive. And she's actually the person who I had the issue with. So when I first signed up these townhouses, I met the customer, and she said, "Hey, I just want to let you know, my neighbor, the one of the 4 that I don't service," she said, "I just want you to know, she is a witch, but with a B." I just laughed. I said, "Oh, okay," you know. But that's all she said. She didn't really go into any detail, and so I was like, "Okay, you know, fine." I worked in the foster care system for 6 years. It's very rare, if not impossible, to find someone that I can't deal with, because of the nature of the folks I worked with when I worked in that system. So I'm like, all right, no problem. And so when you know someone's going to be difficult, the easiest way to deal with them is just be proactive. And so the way their yards worked is they all had grassy yards. This woman who I don't mow, she had turned her front yard, the entire thing, into a driveway. Which meant, you know, my customer's property line bumped. There was like, it was my customer's property line, and then this woman had like a 6-inch wide rock bed that kind of divided between the properties, and then her driveway. So, you know, you do your best you can, but, you know, clippings are gonna get on the driveway, and they did. And I would make a point to blow them off. But she also came outside the first time I mowed the lawn and was like, "Hey, can you make sure you get these clippings?" And I was like, "Yep, absolutely, not a problem." You know, always yes ma'am, no ma'am, whatever. And so that's been going on for about 2 years now. Every single time I go out to mow that lawn, she comes outside to monitor and make sure I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing and not getting clippings on her driveway, and if I do, making sure they get off. And there's no problem with that. I don't mind that. You know, I don't enjoy someone just sitting out front staring at me while I'm working. I don't think anybody enjoys that. But I'm also not going to get mad at it, because it's her property. I'm getting stuff on her property. She has every right to make sure I get it off, so that's fine. And I've built up more or less a pleasant relationship with her. So the last time I went to mow this set of townhouses, we were dealing with wind gusts, like 30-mile-an-hour wind gusts. And so, like to the point where I almost didn't have to blow off the any of the surfaces because there was so much wind. The clippings weren't staying. But you still want to make sure you get everything. So I service everything. I go and blow off the walkways and her driveway. Get it all taken care of. She's there watching me, as is normal. But I'm not paying her any mind. I just kind of wave and keep going. But I've got my hearing protection on. So I walk back to the truck, and as I get in the truck, I'm about to take off my hearing protection, and I hear noise, and I look behind me, and it's her. And but she's just like standing in her doorway, and she's saying something, but there's so much wind, I can't understand what she's saying. I'm sure it involves me missing something. Like there's like a piece of grass that I missed, which has happened before, and that's annoying. But again, I'm not mad at it. It is her property, so it doesn't bother me. I wouldn't do it, but it doesn't bother me that she does. So she says, "Can you?" She says something, but I can see her pointing like this. So I'm like, I must have missed some grass. I don't know. So I grab my blower. I'm walking back over there, and as I'm getting closer, she's like, "Can you get the leaves?" And I'm looking. Her driveway's clear. I said, I don't see what you're talking about. And she goes, "Right there, the leaves." And I was like, "Can you come out here? Because I don't see what you're talking about. I don't see anything on your driveway." And then she goes, "Those leaves in the rocks." Well, yeah, there's some leaves in the rock, but just as the leaves are in the rock, the wind blows, and some of the leaves blow away, but new leaves blow in. And I go like, "The leaves in these rocks?" And she says, "Yeah." And I'm like, "I didn't put those there, no." Okay, because there's one tree in this townhouse complex, and that tree is not on any of my customers' yards. So if those leaves got on her driveway, it's not because of anything I did. It's because of the wind. And so she was like, you caused those leaves." No, I didn't. I said, "It's windy. It's blowing back and forth. It's windy." And she goes, "Yes, you did." And I was like, "No, ma'am, I didn't. No." I said, I'm not blowing that off." And she goes, "Ugh!" And she starts to get mad, and I was like, "Have a good day." And I walked away. And I could hear her yelling behind me. I don't know what she said, but I could hear her yelling. I walked away. I put my stuff in my truck. When I turned around, she was gone. She's gone back inside. And I left. And that's really all there needs to be. I know a lot of guys, and I don't understand this, but a lot of guys would that interaction would have gotten very heated because you would have felt the need to argue with her and to yell back. But you're just making this thing last longer, and you're causing a greater commotion that could lead to more issues for you. I've seen videos on YouTube of lawn guys who've had issues with crazy neighbors, and it's gotten ugly, and the police have been called. And I've seen those videos, and I've been like, why did you let it get to that point? You just walk away. I'm not like this whole stand your ground and whatever, bro. Like, you're only talking about, like, for these townhouses, I charge $40, which is a lot for $40. It's easy money, but I'm not hurting for cash like that. So if somebody is gonna, if I got to get into a screaming match with your neighbor, or if I got to get into, in some cases, like I've seen on YouTube, where there's like a physical altercation, or threats of violence. I saw one video where a guy got threatened with a machete. I'm not doing that. It's not worth it. It's $35. So I walk away, and that's it. And if she had tried to escalate things, I'll tell you right now, I don't care. I'll call the cops on you in a second. I do it. Ask my neighbors when it gets past the when it gets after 11 o'clock, when the noise curfew or whatever it is goes into effect. I'm that guy. But there's no need for this stuff to get escalated. There's no need to yell. You just talk normally and say, this is what you're going to do, you know what I'm going to do. And, you know, if they have a problem with it, so be it. I'm not married to a single job that I have. I am more than happy to move on. So if a customer is going to get all wild and crazy, I mean, I've done this before. I've gone to a customer and said, hey, I don't know what's going on with your neighbor, but I don't want to deal with that. So this is what I'm doing. But if this guy's going to harass me, you're going to have to find somebody else. And, they were fine with that. They understood, and, they dealt with it, and I never had to deal with their neighbor again. So, these interactions don't have to be a big deal. You just got to make the effort to not make them a big deal. And if you start seeing that things are getting out of hand, or you see the potential for them to get out of hand, let's call the police. Worst case scenario, nothing happens. But I mean, it's annoying to have to do that, but it's not worth endangering yourself or getting into an unsafe situation. And if worst case scenario, if you really feel like this person's going to be a constant thorn in your side, just move on from the property. We're not talking about a lot of money, just get a new lawn. Anyway, so that was my first real interaction with a crazy neighbor. But it got shut down before it could even get started, so it was not an issue. So I figured I'd share it with you guys, and hopefully it's helpful to somebody. So this is Randy with Dolan Cut and Trim. Have a good one.